How's everybody doing today? This is attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks, here to have a discussion today. This discussion comes off of a show that I did about a month ago. At some point, I'm going to cut in a few minutes to give context for that show so we don't have to repeat that material. But what I'm beginning to see is an inability to understand the gravity of the wealth transfer that's going on, the scale of it, what it means, how it expresses itself, nor understand the gravity of solutions. So I get a lot of times, so what's the solution? I can't tell you. Have $1 million in your account so that you're at least in the top 15% of America, 20. You know, I think a lot of people are asking for solutions without a gravity of understanding. You might not have the political, educational ability to grasp the solution because you were built wrong. So we got a generation of black folk in particular, but Americans built out of the lifestyles of the rich and famous, built out of the lottery. I told y'all before, black folks in LA don't really even play the lottery. So we don't have any idea. It's a few old blacks that transported from the South. They play that. We don't even go. I never had a black person stop with me at the gas station to play the lottery. We don't care about no Powerball. So if you are in a context of a Powerball type living and asking me a solution that in effect makes you not come out of ADOS lineage, I can't help you, let alone your own life choices. You acting like you went to Harvard and fell out. You can go no Harvard. You went to Hampervert. You went to, come on. Can we talk today? So we have all of these realities happening. You have people asking for solutions. Part of the reason that you're asking those questions is the rise of hip hop and the false lie that degeneracy leads to ultimately to elite success in America. It is this recreation by, I believe, the wealth class to release the valve where poor people protest, where poor people stand up, where poor people demand policy, to the extent where you guys voted for Trump. If you have children and you don't have no college savings and you don't have no life savings and you don't have no transition money, meaning helping with the down payment, and you voted for Trump, you their life up. And ain't nobody told you. So what I'm saying to you is that these ideas come from a sense of craze and a lack of understanding of the scale of wealth. Now, for a lot of you guys will start off in a place where you don't understand enough for the conversation. So I'm just going to start off and just cut in about 3 to 4 minutes of this video. Then we'll be able to have a question. For black wealth, unlike anything we've seen ever in American history, and you will feel the impact in your life. What I'm telling you is that you can see in this chart the way white wealth has taken off and that way black wealth will collapse. Let me show you. So this chart is the visualization of this 110 trillion dollars in categories. When you look at black wealth, these numbers all added together are somewhere around $5-6 trillion. But what you will jump off the page for you is how much of that is pension. These two categories together, almost over $2 trillion, and real estate, primarily in the hands of black boomers. And it wasn't done because they went to college and you didn't. It was just timing. Why is this important? Well, it's important because that is not the breakdown of white wealth. White wealth, they have 36.69 trillion in real estate. They have 6 trillion just in consumer durables. They have more in consumer durables and TVs and couches than black wealth combined. Again, there's 80 something million white homes, 80 million plus, and there's 20 million plus black homes. That's a 1-to-4 ratio. This is not a 1-to-4 ratio in wealth. The reason this is important is because the pivotal reality of how you've held your life together on cotton candy, on chew gum, on all of the leftovers at the bottom of the refrigerator, it's not going to work going forward. Because white wealth is about to take off and they are about to hand white youth trillions of dollars. The biggest wealth transfer in American history is upon us. Some will benefit more than others. And you not part of the sum. And that's the point of the show, just to show you how you not part of the sum. So I'm going to come back to more of that video, but contextually, what I think is happening, and I see people dealing with this through, I'm going to get rich from crypto, or I'm going to hit the lottery, or I'm going to play some basketball, not understanding you don't really get what's going on right now. You don't really understand what has just happened over your adult life, let alone what will happen and how you don't even know how to vote. There's no sense of you voting for Trump and you need Section 8 housing, or you need after school programs, or you don't even know how to vote. I need us to see this thing because DraftKings, somebody just said that, the gambling, your whole life is a gamble. So as I get through the show, what I want to kind of get into is the solutions towards the back end. Now, for a lot of you guys, the scale of the solution will make it so you don't see it as a solution because you don't understand solutions. Part of the problem of not having a highly educated black group, because our group, only 16% or so are college educated, and a large chunk of that were the black immigrants. You have a group of black folks that can't grasp that the solution is at a macro level now. The money got too big. You can't fix this. Even reparative justice, if they gave all of us $300,000, $200,000, it's not that we would give it back. That don't fix this. The problem is in the policy and how the policy allows wealth to move between white generations unlike anything we ever seen. And you ain't mad enough because you think you're going to be rich tomorrow. You out here DoorDash and don't know that DoorDash is an expression of the wealth inequality. It does not exist if the wealth is equal. Who to drop off people food at 50 years old, 46? I want to talk about it today because you guys are not grasping this. In the video that you just seen, what I'm going to say is there will be a cliff for black wealth unlike anything you've seen in your life. What's going to happen over this next decade is the little bit of black wealth that exists. Let me see if I have this chart so I can kind of show you. Oh, I skipped forward to the white people and the old. This her daddy, I believe. So when he have her 50, 43, and he was come on. But let's look at this chart to give you context of what I'm talking about, because I want to make sure that we understand. There's going to be a lot of people that can't tune into this because I'm not giving you your earn your leisure, give me some money for a class, and I'm going to make you fixed. I'm not here to even say you broken. I'm here to say the system is broken and that your desires post hip hop are basically backwards. You desire to be rich and don't understand everybody around you still going to be poor. So what you gonna do? Like Allen Iverson, they say he had 31 families on his payroll when he came to the NBA. Lamar Odom, what the Kardashian girl say, he had 60 people on his payroll. What you gonna do? Do that? You gonna be government? So when you look back at 2018, somebody in the chat, do you see this? White America had $83 trillion in wealth. Well, it's 2025, and they have 134 trillion. So in the course of 7 years, they have jumped $50 trillion. It is people who will come into this discussion and say, why does that matter? It sets the prices of cars, of homes, of student loans, of college education, of medical care. You live in a society intermingled with this money. So somebody failed you for you not to understand why this matters. We ain't in Rosewood. I want to have the discussion today because I don't think people understand that in 7 years, white folks have jumped from 83 trillion to 134. And black folks are basically damn near flat, 4.57 to 5.52. That's pretty much pension, a little bit of gain at home that's in the boomer hands. Okay, so we going to live here. We going to succeed. So one of the first solutions is a grasp of the scale of things, so that you understand fundamentally how problematic the policy is set up to make sure that you fail economically. And you'll just have to see it. When you're driving Amazon, dropping off packages, failed you. When you are doing Klarna to buy something because you don't have the money, the system has failed you. You don't even have the language to understand that you have had a failure of the system. Understand, go back to when you graduated high school in 1996. If you were doing dominoes in 2006, you knew the system had failed you. But by 2025, they got you dropping off packages and you don't know. because you're doing it in your own car. Can I get to it today? I just want to talk because I'm going to get to the solutions towards the backside. But before we get to the solutions, we go back. I told you in 2013 in the Huffington Post, the era within which American legacy rises, the new era that has arrived, brings us back to a time where you will become, what you will become is based not on how much Chase will loan you without collateral, but rather what your grandfather left you so many years ago. And everybody looked at me confused. Everybody. From my auntie to my great auntie to people I dated to the family to people were lost in the reality of America because America told you a fake reality. They gave you an Obama who gave you Uber, and then you said, I love Obama, but then your kid driving Uber at 3 a.m. and you saying everything okay till they get beat on the head driving Uber. Make it make sense. I want to talk today. I want to talk today. People in here, now they done went crazy and saying crypto gonna make you rich. And that's how we gonna answer. Don't nobody want to deal with the policy that broke us out of the depression. And that's what we're gonna talk about it. They called it the Great Compression. The era after the Great Depression was called the Great Compression. And it was a set of policies that did not redistribute wealth, but forced equity. And in that forcing of equity, they forced companies to share the wealth. You don't even know that because you built wrong. Your parents f***ed up somewhere. So now I'm trying to do politics with people that are politicalists. I know that ain't no word. They are empty vessels with a hole at the bottom, and you asking me why I don't keep filling them up. Okay. I want to talk. I want to get into the numbers. Let me add some more of this. So $36 trillion in real estate, $6 trillion in consumer durables, $41 trillion in corporate equities. That's their stocks. They have $14 trillion in pension entitlements, combined with another $11 trillion with defined contribution pensions. That's $25 trillion in pensions, $13.6 trillion in private business. We don't even exist in private business, but we spend all our time talking about black business when the reality is that black people in America, ADOS, have never been put in position to have any business of any measure. Don't tell me about no NBA players or no LeBron James starting something or Kevin Hart's restaurant. It does not register. And then I know from talking to the governors, I reached out to them. The governors are the people that control the Federal Reserve Survey. They explained to me that the cash on hand is held not in all of these categories, but in this other assets, along with some other things. So the reason this is important is to go back to 2018. So if you go back to 2018, quarter one, and you look at the jump that's happened with white wealth in those 7 years, it'll show you everything about how your life about to get hard. And if you don't understand, it don't matter if you understand. When you look at real estate, white wealth went from $21 trillion in real estate to $36 trillion in real estate in 7 years. That's a $15 trillion jump. They will pass that on through this estate tax that they supercharge, where it's $15 trillion for a person, $30 trillion for a couple, and you will have to compete with that with labor that's taxed at 40%. So they're going to receive this money tax-free, and you will receive next to nothing because of the logic that people have that they don't owe nobody nothing. Let's play it again.
As witness, a dream can become a reality. It was a struggle for me to own it, but it was worth it.
You leave that to your children. What's your home worth now?
Over $500,000.
So when you pass on and you leave that to your children, you're leaving an estate.
Yes, I am, but I don't intend to leave them a paid-for house. I intend to enjoy my money and my house.
My money, my house. This woman has no idea she lives in an America where the wealth gained from the late 70s into the 2010s is supposed to support a family multi-generationally through this next era where you don't make money. And I don't know. Everybody can figure it out how they figure it out. All I'm saying to you is that When you look at the jump in white real estate by $15 trillion, and then also, what did I tell you the cash was at? Other assets. They have jumped $9 trillion in the category where the cash is held. What I told you before is the mechanisms that this society has does not keep proper metrics on when a grandma pays for school for their grandchildren in cash, on when $10,000 shows up to pay student loans or car payments. This is a mechanized system. We here now. And I just want to have a discussion because there is a solution. And I believe there's two solutions that are possible. One is a set of protesting, and the other is a set of policy. Neither of those will suffice if you've been playing that damn lottery at the gas station because you believe in magic beans. This is not a place of magic beans. This is a place where you are in magazines and they are taking the picture before you born. But a lot of you are built out of, this is a high school dropout, and this guy is just like, I think he dropped out of college at both of them don't come from no money. I think that both of them have a father that's a first generation American. This became the idea that we had made it, and like what it really was a release valve, I believe, by the wealth class created so y'all don't protest, because then you don't understand, you shut out. The decline of Nepo home buyers is an ominous sign for America's real estate market. Gene Frowling, listen to this. This is everyday white folk. This ain't the top of white folk. Gene Frowling always wanted to help her 3 children. And just to give reference, when I was talking about these people, I'm talking about him and him. I don't think we understand how crazy, like, NBA, NFL, and like basket and like rap really made black folks around wealth, and it don't matter. You are who you are. How many of y'all young black men, because I remember you said in the chat, were looking at Diddy as aspirational goals, or I don't know what I was doing. I never seen that with this man. Or looking at Jay-Z, a dropout drug dealer, as like, I can make it too. I don't know what that is. I just know that America now ain't playing with you. And I'm here to talk to you about the policy that's needed. And what has happened as a result of you following them is that you voted for Trump when you poor. Wait, you voted for Trump when you poor. And then I do hold the Democrats and a liberal wing responsible for not giving us our liberal option, but you don't vote for Trump as an answer when you poor. It's okay though. This article came out. I just want to share the first section of this article. Nick, can I share the first section of this article? 310-388-3499 if you want to be heard. Gene Frowling, and this is everyday white folk, always wanted to help her 3 children buy places of their own. She and her husband, now in their mid-60s, so that would make them younger boomers. So this woman might have a mama that's about would be my mama deceased, around my mama's age, and she 32. Gene Frowling always wanted to help her 3 children, 3 of them, buy places of their own. She and her husband, now in their mid-60s, saved for years in hopes of one day pulling their kids into the property ladder. What did the old lady say on the video? She said she ain't going nothing. I'm not leaving nothing. Eventually, hard work and foresight paid off. They gifted each of their first 2 children thousands of dollars to pad the down payments of their first home. So you going to work and getting taxed at 40%, and they getting gifted this money, and we ain't clear if it all went through the right taxation models, but they getting gifted this money, and you all got to be in the same market. Then about a year ago, their youngest daughter, the third one, found a house she liked just outside of Peoria, Illinois. The Frowlings figured their then 33-year-old daughter could probably afford the house on her own. But they decided to leave even less chance this time. They wanted to make sure their daughter avoided a mortgage hiccup, or worse, losing out to stronger offers. Frowling and her husband opted to buy the home outright, paying $186,000 in cash. Okay. So we just felt there was some negotiation power in the cash offer and that it would ease the transition. We live in America where in 1995, the top 10% was only 33% of the consumer spending. Where now in 2025, the top 10% is 50% of the consumer spending. And none of y'all are doing the policy. You're telling me about reparations, but don't understand. We might be post-reparative justice in terms of not so much demanding it, but understanding how that will solve this. We have a policy problem. You are allowing them to give you Klarna and acting like it's okay. You are allowing them to give you Uber and acting. I seen a commercial for Airbnb where they're going to have a massage therapist in the massage area of the house, and you don't understand. You the massage therapist reading a book about how to massage. What you don't understand is what America was. Why it was in 95. Spread out that way. And what my point today is to get to the point where I give you the solution and either you get it or you don't. I don't care. I know it's the only solution. You do what you want to. Argue with your wife and end up divorced. Argue with your mama and end up not talking because you didn't give her the money she thought that you owed her. Whatever you got to do to deal with this wealth inequality. Look at this labor participation. It's 85% in 1950. So damn near everybody who ain't like drunk on the porch got a job. Look at the labor participation now. It's like 67%. What do you think this is for black folks? 50-50? So you think you individually gonna get rich and that ain't gonna be everybody around you, your cousins, your brother, So one of the solutions on a personal level is deal with your game board. What did life hand you? Not what it spectacularly should be. What is your board? What cards do you got in this Uno game? We talking today, and everybody in here is talking with me. 310-388-3499. It's okay if nobody calls in because I'm going to go through this lesson. Now, I titled this about solutions, but I got to frame the problem because if I don't do that, y'all, where you're supposed to be part of that growth. Folks, while that category went up $9 trillion for white folks, it dropped for blacks by $200 billion. It already was nearly nothing. These points, 0.8, that means on when a grandma pays for school for their grandchildren in cash, on when $10,000 shows up to pay student loans or car payments. This is a mechanized system where you're supposed to be part of that growth. Folks, while that category went up $9 trillion for white folks, it dropped for blacks by $200 billion. I wanted to make sure I made clear what category I was saying because I'm cutting in the cash category, the place where they hold the cash. I know because I exchanged messages with the governors that create these charts. It jumped by $9 trillion in 7 years. That's not the real estate. That's not the stocks. That's not the businesses. Your contemporaries are being handed 50,000, 100,000. I just gave you an example of 186,000. And you believe that you're going to work your way through this. It already was nearly nothing. These points, 0.8, that means 800 billion. That's not enough. That's nothing against 20 million people. You look at private business, they've grown by $4 trillion. You look at corporate equities, their corporate equities have almost doubled in 7 years by $20 trillion. You cannot be in this America. You cannot be competing against this wealth in this America without these massive transfers coming your way. 20,000, 60,000. They have set up the entire tax system to supplement this wealth. I need for you to understand that the wealth is already here and the wealth is already taken off. And what will happen in the coming years, the cliff that we're facing is these X's. So when you look at black wealth, it's pretty much boomer real estate, some Gen Xers, but primarily, I would say probably 75% of this might be boomer real estate. Black boomer real estate that came out of a set of New Deal policies, a set of civil rights movements that gave factory workers jobs and homes, and then was shut off for Black college educated folks in the late 90s and the 2000s, unless you were what I call boomer hooked. And that's the rare occasion you didn't have that woman as your grandmama that said, this is my money. And when I say rare, it's much rarer than the people who have received it even know, because we don't talk about it. We call everybody grandma, even people that failed their obligation. And today is the day where you understand your cliff is coming because someone failed you. So when you look at these categories across race, understand what I'm saying to you today. I'm saying as this real estate dies off, as this defined pension dies off, because it dies with the person that's the retiree oftentimes, and this defined contribution pension, you're not going to have anything in these other categories. These other categories together might be $1.5 trillion. So let's just say out of the 2.42, 2 trillion is with the Black boomers. Well, you're going to have 0.42 in real estate, 0.64 in consumer goods, 0.3, and you have 20 million families that think that they are somebody and going to be something and can do someone a task in this world. And everyone will be introduced at once to the truth of what it means for white folks to have $130 trillion. So let me be clear, because I want to make sure that I explain one thing that's going on. I believe that working age ADOS Black Americans that were raised in hip hop and with this basketball nonsense and this football nonsense may be financially some of the most crazed people in the history of the world because of how they set you up. Effectively, they starved you out and then fed you like cotton candy. And so now you don't really understand up and down. That's why they can give you Klarna and like FanDuels and you don't say anything. Your stimulus is wrong. Let me explain it better. In data, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the charts I showed you, and to live next to it. And for you, when you look at these charts that I show, like this one, I believe that working age Black folks under the age of 50, 20 to 50, may control between 1/10 and 1/4% of all of America's wealth. But if you were to gauge, and this is roughly talking, the amount of aspiration that they have in context of everyone, they may be 20 to 25% of the aspiration. You don't know because that's your circle. So it's a lot of shuffling through Redfin, looking at $1 million houses. It's a lot of what I'm going to do with my crypto when I make $10 million. It's a lot of I'm not going to deal with my brother that's in jail or my brother that's homeless or my brother that's unemployed because I'll fix that once I'm rich. It's a lot of stopping at the quick pick, what they call it, quick pick, whatever the gas station y'all got down there, and buying Powerball tickets in line. And what you have is a group that doesn't understand. Aspirational people already got aspirational bank accounts. I'm looking at this. I mean, look at this. Student loan 90 plus delinquencies have exploded higher to heights never seen before. I told y'all that. Y'all remember when I told y'all I said I don't believe in no on-ramp from Biden? And so a lot of this is because of the on-ramp and people wasn't making payments because they believed in the on-ramp. I told you, don't believe in no on-ramp from Biden and Kamala. Now, people can't take that and say, well, that's why I voted for Trump. That's not the answer for not believing in Biden and Kamala. It's to demand why Kamala's in front of you. It's to demand an answer for why Biden dropped out so late or even was allowed to do what he did in South Carolina. You did not make that demand. I'll tell you who did make that demand because I got videos to show it, myself and Yvette Carnell. You can show me your video. Ain't no positive thinking gonna fix this. Hustle culture is a lie. Got you late at night dropping off boxes in the dark. Dogs barking. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? 323.
It's North.
What's up, North? Give me your take.
Hello? Yeah. I want to get to this real quick. You know I like the quick calls. But anyway, So a couple shows back, because I knew you would get to this point, and it would take a while because I understand how you teach people. And before I even get to what I'm about to say, and I already understand that you know this, but there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong in the way that you teach people. And I wouldn't call it anger. It's more so like you're like kind of like disgusted with the fact that somebody is that grown and doesn't understand what's happening in front of their face. But I totally get it. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I said a couple of shows back that there needs to be a fight that happens. What you're talking about is literally what I was talking about when I said that on your show. I knew that you would get to that at some point in time. So with that being said, like if you, and I'm talking about, I'm talking about 8 hours period, but specifically those who chose to participate in the org and all of these other things that we sit and we listen to because we understand what you're saying. Like if you don't have the best relationship with your family or AOS people in the first place, it's because of what Tone said. They don't understand that they were made wrong, and that's something that they don't want to deal with. And that's the fight that they don't want to have, because essentially their fight that they're supposed to have is with themselves. And that's what I was talking about. I knew that's what you said a couple of shows back.
I don't want you to go nowhere. I want you to listen to this because I'm going to come to this at the end of the show. But I want to introduce the two solutions or releases for this kind of wealth inequality. What kind of wealth inequality am I talking about? I'm talking about this right here. I'm talking about where white people have $134 trillion in wealth. And black folks have like 5.5, but like 4.5 maybe are boomer pension and homes that'll just pass out. And so we're going to be sitting here with like a trillion, $1.2 trillion all together, 1.6. And they're going to have not 134, they're going to keep going up. They're going to have like 160. So we will be a underclass. And we're already seeing that the way it expresses itself is you dropping off DoorDash food for them. You're their underclass. It's a new form of slavery reintroduced. So when I look at this thing, I just want to introduce, and I'll go through it later so people understand where I'm going. There are two solutions. Now, you could talk about reparations, but I don't believe giving you $300,000 in cash solves this anymore. Do I think it should happen? Yes, but it needs to happen along with policy. So the first thing is either violence and protest. So we saw it before, after the 30s. We saw black folks demanding wage equity along with white folks. If you get this picture in the back, it says unity of whites and blacks. So you saw labor unrest that led to the labor policy. Understand that the reason that labor policy was created was to create a world where Uber didn't exist. Under your first quote unquote black president, Obama, a month after he's sworn in, Uber is launched. And none of y'all ain't got no apology or no explanation. You just cried on the lawn. I ain't crying on the lawn. I voted down by a Democrat. But then if it ain't violence and protest, the only other answer is policy. It ain't you going to earn your leisure classes or learning about stocks or learning about crypto. There is a great compression. Understand, I'm not making that up. That's what happened after the Depression to deal with compressing these white folks' wealth post the Depression. There was policies like the New Deal that forced equity. There were labor rights gained. You have now given all of that back, and you've done far too little to stand up. You want me to make a solution out of you when you the problem. Anything I think you want to say, Nor?
Yeah, no. Like I said, it's just like I said a couple of shows ago. This is the argument. I knew you was going to get to it. Again, ADOS that do refuse to understand what Antonio was telling you. You need to go deal with yourself. You were made wrong. And again, we can't do nothing about your childhood. We have to do something about now. You have to go address your parents now. You have to address whatever issues that's causing you to not be able to mentally understand what a grown person should understand. Thanks, don't have a great time.
Made out of pieces of Jay-Z and Diddy. Damn dropout and the drug dealer and this other guy who was doing sex parties. That's what your pieces of your aspiration are. So your greatest version of yourself is a dropout drug dealer that sell parole anklets and sell casino gambling and sell or this sex party man. Come on, man. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? 910.
What's going on, Antonio? This is Christian from Fayetteville, North Carolina. How you doing, sir?
I'm out here. Let me keep going, and then you come with me, because I'm gonna come to them solutions. I just wanted to drop them because one of the two is gonna have to happen. I got my own view on which is most likely, but one of the two is gonna have to happen, and it's gonna release within, I think, our lifetime. Now it's a question of whether we let the boomers party on out or whether we say something now. The $124 trillion great wealth transfer is bigger than ever, and millennials will get the biggest cut. America stands at the edge of the most dramatic shift in personal finance ever measured. A generational transfer of nearly 124 trillion in assets over just 25 years. And it's happening now. Give me your take on it.
I absolutely agree. I got friends right now that in our early 20s, these childhood friends, they was white, but they're getting it down with the 30, 40, even $50,000, whether they get married, whether they just graduated and they just getting cars. I mean, right now, to not have a car note, that's a huge advantage. Especially given the fact that, the condition that most cars are in and everything else. But I did want to add something I think is very interesting because you mentioned that I myself being in that age group of working age Black Americans, one of the foul things that always happens, like you and Red always talk about, is that not only once Adolf gets in position to do something for ourselves, that we get snatched from us, but then the goalpost is moved. So I just had my daughter was just born last week.
Congratulations.
From the job that I've been working at for almost 5 years, I get a letter from my job telling me that due to price increases caused by tariffs and a lot of the economic climate caused by the political volatility of this administration, we regret to inform everyone in the company that you will no longer be receiving your matching 401k benefits until further notice. That 401k is the reason I got a house. It is the reason I was able to keep my family from being on the streets. It is the reason that they have not had to have some serious medical conditions. And now, as a 25-year-old with 2 kids, what I was told to do and get a good job, these benefits are being stripped because people want to have a difference of opinion on politics, and it's affecting our everyday lives. And I got family that hosts it. I got family that saying pull themselves up by the bootstrap. But then when we do it and then we snatch my shoes for what little bit that I do have, that's a problem. And
Yeah.
we got young families
I also think that that's an expression of we live in an Uber, Klarna, DraftKings, OnlyFans, earn pay. There's this other thing where people get their checks early and basically pay thousands% in APR to get their. We live in exploitation. We're in the so when you see this kind of let me explain again what I'm saying. You cannot have this kind of wealth expansion without it expressing itself. And the way that it's expressing itself isn't in clothless people, it's in debtor clothed people. So it's not in being, they know visually that if you have enough clothless people, you're going to get protests and violence. So what we're going to give you is the clothes, but we're going to make the clothes have so much debt that you might as well goddamn be clothless. Ain't no, oh, come on. Let me show you another way. So you've seen this chart before, Christian. And so when you look at wealth, the green line represents the top 0.1%. The red line represents the bottom 90. What this chart is showing is their share of American wealth. White, black, everybody included. Now, black folks are primarily the bottom half of the bottom 90. Not primarily, damn near all. But what was happening was the bottom 90 through policy, I'm going to talk about in a second. The great compression is what we should be demanding for. You cannot demand for that and vote for Trump. It don't make no sense. It don't make, you got to go to the left of Biden, not to the far right. I don't know. That's where education is just limited. Charlemagne dropped out of high school. He did a GED in South Carolina. You can't get nothing from him. Come on. I went to high school and they don't teach high level politics in high school, but he's talking for you on TV. Let me get back to the chart. So you look at this green line and the top 0.1. So we talking about, I think that we talking about 200 million roughly. So families, maybe 180. So the top 0.1 of those families had the same amount of wealth during the Depression. That's mass inequity. But then what happened was through policy, they went from having, you can look at the chart, somewhere around 23, 24%, just like the bottom 90, to only having around 7, 8, 9. But the bottom 90, through that same civil rights and the New Deal, we'll get into specifics about solutions today, they went to a point where they had 37%. But then they didn't do no policy to make sure the next generation got the same thing. So what happened over your adult life, really your whole life, from when you were a child, is all of the gains got gained back, and now these lines cross the other way, and it's worse than the Depression. It just don't look like it, but they did it through the Klarna and the DraftKings. So your whole psyche is built on a possibility that don't make no sense because there ain't no possibilities out here. You don't have to I don't care if you understand. I know the truth. Let me show it to you in a secondary chart that adds in the top 10. Because understand again, this chart shows you the 0.1 and the 90. It doesn't show you the 9.9. And understand also, I don't care what LeBron they show you, what Kevin Hart, these dudes do, their jobs are not those are junk jobs. In a society, being a jester or being the gladiator and running around, those are junk jobs. Those are not architects. Those are not builders. Those are not legislators. Those are junk jobs. So these people that did the junk jobs were elevated in terms of visuals, the decadent veil. And what happened was you didn't understand that the top 10%, of white families, 80 million or so white homes, talking about 8 million white homes, they include the top 0.1 and the top 9.9. So the 9.9, so look at this chart and how what I'm saying. This is this chart, part of the chart. They're the exact same because they are the same. So this chart here is expressed on this chart in this black line and this brown gray line. So if you look at this brown gray line, that's the top 0.1. When you look at the black line, that's the bottom 90. But then there's a secondary 9.9 of about like 7.5, 8 million white homes. That is the 9.9. And those are families 10 million, 15 million, 25 million, 45 million, 75 million, 110 million. And they have a large chunk of wealth and they fighting too. Where we're at now is the policy has created a world where those 8 million, and I would go lower than that to the white families that are worth a single million, 800,000, are able to transfer this money without taxation. And you don't understand that has created a world of impossibility for you. And your first course of action for any solution, I start with where North started off. You better say something to your mama before she say something to you. Put that foot right in your living room and say, this my house too? How? Huh? You better say something to your family first. But when we move beyond that, what I'm also saying, come on, is that you cannot allow for a world where we move from a start point for estate tax of around $600,000 in 90, I think it was 97, it was 600,000 a person, to 15 million a person today, 30 million for a couple, because then what happens is you can't even make it up for work. I don't even know if people should work no more. We at the point. They done took the heartbeat out of work. Work don't go nowhere. How you really move is what? Just like this little white girl right here. You move based on somebody buying you a home. Give me your last take on it.
Yeah, no, you were 100% right. And I think that we're not looking at the timing of everything that's happening with this absolute stratification of wealth, with having concrete poured on top of it in an age where the wealth isn't being taxed the same way, so it's not getting redistributed. And we don't understand how common this wealth is. I know folks 9 to 5, white folks that I work with on a regular basis will work for $30 an hour, but will have 300 acres of land to speak of with cattle on. And we don't know that.
Look at this chart. Look at this chart again. I made it bigger. Look at this chart. 2018, they have $83 trillion. By 2025, they have $134 trillion. Look, I'm going to let you go, but I'm going to take some more callers. I'm just going to get to these solutions, but I'm just telling you that these numbers is real, and we are out here dealing with the consequence of this. Thank you so much for calling. According to the wealth transfer report from Boston Wealth Management from Cerulli Associates, published in June 2025, a combination of demographic and economic forces will see a record amount of wealth move from baby boomers and older Americans to heirs, widows, and charities by 2048. Do you got some money coming? $1 million? $1.5 million? Will the great wealth transfer transform the markets? As heirs receive trillions in assets over the next 2 decades, their investing preferences could create new opportunities. Some trends are already emerging. So you telling me about crypto and you trying to buy micro coins, whatever they call them, alternate coins. Nobody trying to do that. I want guaranteed returns. I'm trying to buy buildings. I'm trying to have a building given to me so I don't have to buy it. It's been called the greatest wealth transfer in history. In the chat, how many people think that people have digested that they're living through and going to deal with? We're only on first base, second base, the greatest wealth transfer in history. How many people think people have the social capacity to grasp what that will mean for themselves, their children, and their children's children? I don't believe many at all. I try to help y'all. That's all I'm trying to do, just tell you the truth. Look, my mama had me at 16. I think she was born like 9 days before me, so she was 17 by 9 days. My mama was basically 16. She ain't know her daddy. So I live in a world where my card was given to me a long time ago. I don't know how to tell y'all you got a card too. Just because your mama fried good wings don't mean you out. It felt like it in 1986. You need more than a mama that can fry wings now. You need a mama who can fly you with some wings out of this poverty. And part of the way that she would have been able to do that is to think of you in 1978. Now, in addition, Black folks were locked out in large part. Don't get me wrong. Lots of oppression, lots of wealth theft. But you saw a lady earlier I showed you who made the 500 from a program. That was a program that they did to make Black folks in that area somehow get. And she said, that's mine. Don't sound like white folks saying that's mine out here. I want to get to it. According to estimates by consulting from Cerulli Associates, the recipients, primarily members of Generation X, those born between 65 and 80, millennials 81 and 96, and Gen Z born after 97 are expected to inherit some 106 trillion of that amount, mainly from boomers, with the rest going to charity. What could this historic transfer of wealth mean for the markets? That depends on a lot of important decisions these heirs make as they invest all or part of their good fortune. Will they choose the same mix of stocks, bonds, cash, and real estate that their boomer parents gravitate toward, or strike out in different directions, exploring radically new opportunities in search of greater growth? Already some clues are emerging. Okay, as boomers increasingly lean into the trend of giving while living. How many people have heard me in the show talk about gifts in life? Giving while living. Our economic system does not even track giving while living well enough. Your first solution before you get to damn near anything else is to be demanding of the IRS to track these goddamn gifts. Do you think, in the chat, I'm going to ask you, you can vote in the chat, that when they gave her this $186,000 home, that she reported it as income? She's supposed to. And pay that all that 40% tax, 30% tax, state, local, state and federal? Or do you think it just like magically showed up? Do you have a magically showed up in your life? Come on. Younger investors aren't just looking to make an impact. They believe that sustainable investing can help identify investment opportunities and mitigate risk. Heck no. Hell no, she didn't. No. Okay. So nobody believes she paid no taxes. Well, you're going to pay your taxes. We talked about these charts. But in a second, after I get to this caller, 216 coming to you, we're going to get into the solutions. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? My name's Fred. I'm calling from Ohio.
Give me your take on it, Fred, before I get to these solutions and talk about the Great Depression, which mimics this era, so that we can get a better understanding of what happened afterwards.
Well, I'm under 30 years old. I'm the only person in my family to purchase a home. And both of my parents lost their divorce homes in the financial crisis of 2008. So I was able to understand things a little bit younger, but I was able to get a nice little loan from my union, and also my union paid for my down payment.
Okay.
So I'm sitting pretty well with that, and I took care of some investments with Chipotle stock in 2016. So one thing I always try to wonder why, and I try to get young people to advocate for, is different tax laws. And I think getting something done with, if you were born under a household that was making under, say, $60K a year, for say 10 years of your childhood life, 1 to 18, maybe from 18 to 21, you don't have any federal tax on your checks. I think little things like that could actually get done.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
And this isn't at all, I'm asking you a genuine question, and it's very simple answer. Do you think that policy happens under Donald Trump?
No.
And this is where it's at. You got black folks that put us in position, and they weren't the drivers. The driver was white women and white vote. But you got black folks that put us in position where we can't even have dynamic thought because they thought they were geniuses sitting up there with less than a limited education. I agree with you. We need dynamic policy. I would set it up differently where ADOS people didn't pay taxes on the first 200,000. But these imaginative policies come out of a liberal push that comes out of the solutions that I'm going to give to you next. Give me your last take on it, caller. Great call. Great call.
Thanks.
Give me any last thing you want to say on it.
That's all. I agree.
Thank you.
I think that's the only way to really, catch up to any of this nonsense.
All right. Thank you so much. Great call. Great call. And congratulations on all your success. Don't leave callers in the queue. I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to get to these solutions because I don't want to keep people too long. And we've already been here about an hour. Following the Great Depression. So when I talk about following the Great Depression, I want to explain because we went through the charts like this one here, but we haven't explained in detail why this spread started happening. Now, it's protests and it's policy. I believe the policy was a result of the protests. You get scared enough of them poor people, you're going to do something for them poor people. We demand worker wages. When the last time we seen somebody walking with one of those? Following the Great Depression, wealth was not broken up in the sense of a massive forced redistribution from the rich to the poor. And this is the solution that I'm talking about when we talk about policy. But government policies and market forces, let me check something real quick. Okay, yeah, I want to make sure I say it right. I'm going to get to that in a second. Violence and protests are one level. I think there's two releases. And sometimes they go hand in hand. Sometimes one can take over the other. While not a single event, the period after the Great Depression was marked by a continued threat of violence rooted in the deep economic anxieties and social tensions exacerbated by the downturn. These threats manifested in acts of racist violence, labor unrest, and government crackdowns on vulnerable populations. Labor unrest. I just want to focus on one type of protest. The economic hardship fueled a rise in labor organizing and worker strikes, which were often met with violent opposition from corporations and authorities. Unionization resistance. Mine operators in the tri-state region resisted attempts to unionize their workers during a 1935 strike. The company formed an illegal company union to undermine the labor movement. What did the young man say in the last call? He said, I got all these things from my union. His union has a base in this. The labor rights movement that happens after the Great Depression coming out of the New Deal. It just happens that his might be the last standing. But what we see is also, you voted for a Barack Obama that gave us Uber. He is the Uber president. They call it the Obamization of Uber. David Plouffe, his speechwriter, goes over to Uber. Many other people went over to Uber from Obama. A man that was supposed to stand up for your labor rights instead gave you laborless labor. or let me say moneyless labor, because when you count that depreciation, you just liquidating your car. You don't even know because you don't understand politics. You're just looking at identities. Part of the reason that you're just looking at identities is you look at success through this. Just characters. Popeye and Superman. But this ain't about characters. The other way that you can release the valve that goes hand in hand is policy that government is forced to institute that will never happen under Donald Trump or the far right. Following the Great Depression, wealth was not broken up in the sense of a massive forced redistribution from the rich to the poor, but government policies and market forces significantly compressed wealth and income inequality. The economic and political landscape changed dramatically, leading to a decades-long period known as the Great Compression. How many people in the chat have ever heard the words Great Compression? If you have not heard those words, you need to go research them. I do not think you can understand what a solution is if you have not heard the words Great Compression, if you don't know what the New Deal is, if you don't understand wealth inequality. You are asking me to make you magically an oppressor. And I will not do that. Go to Earn Your Leisure. They can teach you how to be rich. I don't know, or something they talk about. Go DJ, what's that? The dude from Breakfast Club that was selling them houses. I don't know. Impact on the wealthy during the Depression. Initial losses. The stock market crash of 29 and subsequent bank failures caused significant losses for many wealthy individuals, especially those with fortunes tied to financial securities. Some were completely wiped out, while others, like newspaper magnate William Random Hearst, lost their personal fortunes but managed to recover by leveraging remaining assets, diversified assets. The old money elite, who had diverse, less average assets, such as real estate or had substantial cash reserves, were in a much better position. They could use their cash to buy up distressed assets. Government actions that compressed inequality. Under President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal, a variety of federal policies helped address massive unemployment and reduce wealth inequality over the long term. What I am saying to you is that ultimately the solution for this moment is policy. Now, you can talk about reparative justice, and that is a form of policy. But I believe that now we're on such a macro level that you need something that disrupts wealth. You need policy where you force them to make the estate tax go back down. From it went up. You voted for Trump and he took it up from 12 million to 15 million a person, 30 a couple. You need it to go down so that when someone dies, their wealth is taxed. That is then redistributed into after school programs, into lower state school fees, into Section 8 housing. You don't even understand how to feed yourself politically. The Roosevelt administration dramatically increased the top marginal income tax rates. By the end of World War II, the top marginal tax rate on the wealthiest Americans was over 90%. We're going to break that wealth up. Now, that might not happen in these next 2-3 years because you done voted for Trump. What are you going to do after that? How are you going to understand your goal cannot be to be rich? It must be to break up the rich. I can't put that inside of you. You might be built wrong. You built with your feet on your head. Can I talk today? These high taxes on income and investment gains help fund New Deal programs and served as powerful disincentives for extreme wealth accumulation, contributing to the leveling of income distribution over the following decades. Y'all supported T.I. and Nipsey and Charlemagne, and they talk about opportunity zones. That is not the solution to this wealth inequality. That is an exacerbation. That is a continuation. That is an expansion of the flames of wealth inequality. We need policy that forces a redistribution of all this unfairly gained wealth, not people who wish for more of it. And anybody talk to you about it, you need to tell them they got to go, like North said. But you can't deal with that because you've been wanting to be rich since you was 6 years old so that you can buy your mama a house. But you don't understand that if the government had homes for everybody, you ain't got to buy your mama a house. They give her what she's supposed to have for being American. You backwards. I can't help you. I might be able to help your child. Go put them in front of the TV. You go watch Housewives. I'll talk to them. Oh, God damn, did he say that? Yeah, give me the baby, the 7, the 10, the 12-year-old, the one that becomes Christian, who's watching the show now that called earlier, and then by the time they 22, I can do something with them. You go watch Housewives. Or basketball. I don't know. Something. Kevin Hart special. Establishment of a social safety net. Social Security Act created a system of old age pensions and unemployment insurance, establishing a basic level of economic security for retired and unemployed. Keynesian spending. The government embraced deficit spending, first to fund public works projects to create jobs and then to finance World War II. The massive spending was a direct stimulus to the economy and put people back to work. New regulations. So we live in an era what Trump clearly campaigned on is he was going to cut back on regulations. You voted for more wealth inequality. And you want to talk to me about what is a solution. Not having you. Not having you around is a solution. Because you cannot vote for a president that's going to cut back on the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau. The protections that allow for banks not to overcharge for overdraft fees. You got to know that. The Securities Act 1933 and the Glass-Steagall Act 1933 created new regulatory institutions, including the SEC, to stabilize the financial system and protect investors from fraudulent practices. And you voted for somebody who guts all these protections. Labor rights. Policies were enacted to support workers' rights to unionize and bargain collectively for better wages. And you have to understand that whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. You cannot vote for a Barack Obama that then 2 months later supports and allows for the creation of Uber and you didn't protest in the streets. But it ain't you driving, it's your baby driving. Who cares? You act like you say, y'all be safe out there, but it never should have been existing. Think about when you was 20. Did you go pick up strangers by the bar? No. The Great Depression, the combined effects of these policies, along with a more equal distribution of war-related profits, ushered in an era of unprecedented income inequality in the U.S. Those are the solutions to this. I just wanted to come to you today because what we see right now is this. You to have policies in place that are not only grow that wealth, but that have created an environment where they can hand it between generations without taxation because you thought that it was okay because you believed in Reagan and the lifestyle of the rich and famous. Too many of your grandmamas and your mamas have been watching them soap operas during the day, watching Oprah during the day, been watching life pass them by, dreaming about lifestyles of the rich and famous, playing them goddamn lottery tickets, not understanding this Reagan conservative policies is something that you could not support because you don't even got no goddamn wealth. And now you left a whole generation of people with a cliff. And that cliff is coming regardless of whether you understand it. I only do these shows so that you don't get depressed as it comes. It is expressed in why these things exist. This sports gambling, this Klarna for payments, these DoorDash and Uber Eats, you're not even going to be able to talk to people because their language will be an exploitive language as if you bringing up that a firm of Klarna is a problem by you. No, the fact it exists means that you're part of the failure class and that you do it. Dropping off packages for Amazon or DoorDash, you're part of the underclass of society. Do you remember in high school what it was like to say during your reunion 10 years from now, you're going to be a pizza delivery man? Well, they done reinvigorated and reoriented everybody to think that this ain't below a job at a actual Domino's where they actually give you a salary because you're doing it in your car. No. They have indoctrinated a failure in this murk part of society, this bottom class, and far too many of us, far too many of you are actually part of it and not honest about why. I just want to talk today. I want to talk about the cliff. Look, man, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I just wanted to give y'all the solutions. The solutions are going to be protests or policy. And I believe that policy stretches far beyond the arms of just reparative justice and the idea of a couple $100,000. Now, I believe reparations can mean some of that policy. Let me say that. Far too many people that don't understand the topic. Like I saw Nicole Hannah-Jones, she was talking about money and we can buy what we want. No, we are talking about a structural shift in how America sees poor people and how America sees Adolf's American descent of slavery and how America prioritizes American descent of slavery to not be poor people. We are talking about a transformation that structurally reorganizes so that people that get a child $180,000 house got to pay them taxes. This is Tone Talks. Please go to tonetalks.net, subscribe, donate, and share. I just want to have a discussion. Can we get to it? Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone